Okay, what is going on, my God team? Welcome back to our channel. Thanks for tuning into today's video. We're taking a look at Bitcoin today because a lot is happening for Bitcoin and we're in quite a particular point on Bitcoin, price point. And I want to mention and talk about what's actually happening on the charts right now and kind of extrapolate it to the larger time frame. Also, do want to talk about how I predicted this entire move. I made a little thread on Twitter. We're going to go through it and talk about every single step I took to actually predict this entire move from the top all the way down to the current price action. As you can see, it's followed this almost identically to what we predicted 7 months ago. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about Bitcoin dominance. Obviously, it's breaking up. Talk about DXY, breaking up again. Talk about altcoins and just take a general look at the entire market. So make sure to stick around to the end of the video. We've got a heap to cover and I can't wait to get into it with you guys. So let's dive right into it. We're going to start with Bitcoin first and foremost. Bitcoin is still in this falling wedge formation. And I talked about in the previous video, I think the video before last, the one we did on Bitcoin, we talked a little bit about this RSI formation over here. And we have these points of contact on the RSI that is very telling in the sense of what is actually happening on the chart. We have a downward sloping falling wedge that's converging, and we have I would say more of a horizontal wedge that is very, very slightly converging. It's very slightly converging. But what does that actually tell us? It means that we're going to have this ping-ponging, this bouncing between this upper and this lower region. Now we do expect the price to retest one of these regions again. And I would say if we retest this bottom region, that would be the bottom for Bitcoin. I think that is where we're going to bottom out. I think that would take us down to about 21,000, potentially even lower if that occurs. And of course, if we break up over this upper resistance, we will have that confirmation of that flip happening on that 32K level and hopefully breaking down out of this downward sloping resistance. And we talked a little bit about that downward sloping resistance in the last video. And we showed you this chart over here, which is the macro chart for Bitcoin, of course, but it shows you how we have these two overlapping descending channels. And what they tell us is it tells us that we do have this downward consolidation, but we have a convergence, so a pinching between the overlay of these channels. If you can see, these overlays are slightly deviating downwards. So we have this one channel that's slightly deviating downwards over here, and then we have that bottom side that's slightly deviating apart over here. So it tells us the price is definitely pinching within this zone in the middle, and we do have to make a definitive move out of this at some point. And we can tell you for one thing for certain, if we do break out of this side upwards, this 32K level here, breaking this downward sloping resistance, this dotted line, which equates to this downward trending line here, we will have to break over this resistance zone at 37K for us to actually see any significant move, because we can see that the solid line actually lines with a 37K over here. So if we break upwards out of that wedge, we're not in the clear. We're not in the clear, guys. We do need to actually flip this resistance zone over here. We go ahead and flip the chart, we can see what we're talking about. This will act as a very strong support. So if we go ahead and flip it, and you can just eliminate your psychological biases over here for a second, we have a falling wedge, all right? So an ascending wedge, a rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern. We do expect to break down from these bearish patterns. When we break down, we will find initial support here. So there's that 36, 37K zone. Either from here, we push back upwards, which will send us downwards again, or we continue upwards to the next support. Where is that next support? Well, it will be at $48,000, all right? And that is the level we need to flip on the macro scale to actually become macro bullish. We're gonna go ahead and flip it, and you can see over here, it lines up like this. So when you flip the chart, it shows you a very different perspective of actually what is occurring. Even though it's exactly the same thing, you can trick your mind into believing certain directions are more probable than they actually are without actually analyzing the data. Just because of directional bias, just because of human psychology, it can interfere with your analysis. So if you go ahead and flip the chart, it can eliminate that directional psychological bias or those triggers that I guess hold you back or act as a roadblocks when it comes to objectively analyzing the price action. So looking at this over here, again, a break upwards, resulting it will result over here. This will be initial resistance. We either push downwards and continue downwards, or we break upwards and head up to 48K. Again, flipping 48K, we enter a new bull market, a new bull trend, all right? What is the likelihood of us actually pushing up out of here? Let's talk about that now. Bitcoin is in this small support resistance zone at around 28,000 to 28,500. And you can see that every single time we've come down in here, we've retested and we've pushed back up. We've gone back up to this solid black line. Now the problem is this time around, we've had two singular rejections from this uptrending black line, acting as a pretty major resistance. it's going to be pretty unlikely to see Bitcoin push up from here again and retest this zone and push back in. If that occurred, that would be extremely bullish, and it would be extremely bullish on the short term because the distance between here and the point of which we need to break out is not too long, guys. It's only about 20 days, all right? If not a little bit less than 20 days. We don't have a lot of time, meaning we can't see this rapid move up and down again twice within this time frame. More likely it's going to push upwards, retest around here, and it will break this zone. So if we do push up again, it's more likely that we actually do break over 32k. But like I said, as long as we remain in this zone, this is a no trade zone. You should not be entering new trades. A lot of people are going to be late to shorting the market right now. They'll get wrecked. A lot of people are going to be long in the market right now. They could get wrecked. The best thing to do is wait for a directional move above 28.6k, I would say. We can look for some longs or some coins that have bounced on supports. And obviously, if we drop below 28k, we do expect that price to continue downwards to $24,000 to $21,000 around this zone over here, potentially even lower, all right, that $17,000, $18,000 target. Let's go ahead and introduce Bitget. I want to talk about that for a second, and then we'll come back and talk about the macro scale and talk about exactly what I want to go over, the dominance, all that kind of stuff. But I do want to quickly tell you that Bitget is actually a really good exchange, guys. I do recommend. I've made the swap. If you're looking to leverage trade and you're looking for, up to 125x, which I never recommend, but it can do that. And if you're in Australia, UK, New Zealand, Canada, anywhere that restricts leverage trading access, this is the place to go. And the best thing about it is only 0.02% trading fees. I traded around $13.5 million in trading volume last month. Paid around $13,000 in fees on Binance. If that was on Bitget, it would only be around $2,700 in fees. So incredibly good. I'm going to go ahead and drop it down below. Check it out. I wanted to quickly introduce my new favorite exchange, Bitget. Bitget is a non-KYC exchange, which is particularly beneficial for members in the UK and Australia who are limited by certain trade restrictions. Bitget has 250 plus spot trading pairs, as well as 60 plus leverage trading pairs, up to 125x leverage. Sign up now in the link in the description using our referral code to get up to $153 in rewards for completing 4 separate tasks. Let's go ahead and dive back into the video. Okay, so Bitcoin dominance is pushing upwards. We talked a lot about this the other day, that Bitcoin dominance can push to 49 to 50%. We broke through the major resistance zone over here, and Bitcoin is taking dominance here. It's very clear that altcoins are suffering massively. If we take a look at some altcoins, and we'll just go ahead and flip over to Ethereum real quickly. I want to go ahead and open it up. Let's take a look at Ethereum. And we talked about how if Bitcoin dominance rises, altcoins will essentially get wrecked, and Ethereum is getting wrecked. And we did a video on Ethereum last week telling you guys that if we lose this $17,000 range, we will see a drop down to either $13,000 or the next support, which is this downward trending support line. And Ethereum has in fact reached this level. Now, I would assume from here, just from the macro structures, that we have to expect we could see some sort of bounce here. And we could see sort of bounce over here, leading us back up to retest that 1700 before we fall back down. It's very possible, not eliminating that possibility, but I think Bitcoin dominance is very telling in the sense that, right now, your money shouldn't really be in holding altcoins. You shouldn't be looking at holding. You shouldn't be holding anyway, but you definitely shouldn't be holding right now. And you shouldn't be buying for the long term either. Buying for the long term right now is pathetically stupid. You should definitely be waiting for the dominance to start dropping and the total cryptocurrency market cap to start rising before you look at that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you're really just trying to catch a falling knife. Even if the particular altcoin you're looking at looks potentially good, you're still trying to catch a falling knife on altcoins in general. So be patient, just wait, there's no rush. You don't have to jump in straight away, you can take your time. Okay, the downward sloping inverted channel for Bitcoin is looking pretty bearish. We actually did break up out of it. We can see a few instances over here where we have broken up out of it before. Obviously, this is December 18. This will be April 20, and now we have broken up again. So it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen in here. But what I can say for one thing for sure, when we do break in here, we either stay within this range for quite some time, meaning we can expect some sideways price action from now. I don't expect we to see any explosive move upward, or we basically tank downwards into about 20k. So taking back a look at this chart over here, we can see that Bitcoin is getting rejected on the weekly. And we've had 2 very bearish candles print over here. Actually, four very bearish candles. It's a huge wicks up, getting rejected in a small body. It's pretty bearish. and we can expect a break of this trend line. If we lose this dotted trend line, we head to 24K, very simple. If we lose 24K, we head to 18K, very simple, guys. There's nothing more to it. Macro trend we're going to talk about in a second. So let's head over to our Twitter post, because we're going to talk about all of it in here. So first and foremost, guys, we predicted this in November, way before anyone else. We talked about it, 7.5 months ago, when it pretty much came true exactly what we said. And I just want to point out exactly how we did this, because there's a few learning things we can go ahead in here. So how do I utilize the log scale? So I utilize that log scale over here to identify the key supports and resistance lines, and I group them with cyclic theory. So if we take a look at that chart over here, and we zoom out, we can see that we have, I just want to draw your attention to these black solid and black dotted lines. Initially, we can see that these black solid and black dotted lines are acting as major supports and resistances. So we have the blow off top phase, which is gray box. All right, we've had 3 of those, and we had this upper trend line over here, which is acting as an upper bull market resistance. Then we have this trigger line. So this black line over here is acting as a bull market trigger line. Then we have this first dotted line, which is acting as the first bottom. Then we have our solid line, which is acting as second bottom. Every single time we blow up out of this trigger, we enter a full-blown blow-off top. This is a bull market where altcoins go parabolic. This is when altcoins really start to move, particularly after this first retest. So every time we see this initial retest and drop, that is when altcoins begin to rally. And they rally until the blow-off top finishes, all right? That is what happens. That's how altcoins move in bull markets, all right? So we identified the bull market structures, and of course we're at the bottom out, so anytime below this dotted line, that's where we find the bottom, absolute bottom at least, and then we have the absolute top. So we utilize this and utilize those diagonal resistance levels to identify those structures. Moving forward, we applied a unknown yet very, very predictive and telling theory, or predictive analysis technique called a rise over run analysis to predict the exact price date of the 200-day moving average. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this up over here. We can see we didn't really have any of this orange line here I drew in, these orange lines I drew in, but we can see we had a 35-day period over here, which was from that top, which was from that bearish divergence, all right, to the current price, which is the second bearish divergence. So I measured the distance 35 days, applied 35-day bar across to it, and I talked about this analysis theory and the actual ratios I used to get the 35 days in a previous video, and I actually talked about it way back in May 2021, if you remember back then. But I basically did an analysis over the average percentage drop over a certain period upon breaking a 34.34 on RSI on a certain time. It was on a daily chart, and I applied that using a deviation of +7 - 11 based on, I think it was, I can go ahead and bring it up, but it might take a while to find. I'll bring it up in the next video, actually, I'll show you. It was +7 - 11 based on the calculated amount of days it took for the price to actually flip from a downtrend to an uptrend after the predicted drop. So the predicted drop was around 65.4 or something on average percent, and took about 7 to 11 days, so +7 - 11 days for actually to flip after reaching the bottom. So we used that in calculation around 35 days. We found that it told us 11th of July. We utilized that rise over run to do that. So distance over height, applied over here, distance over height. We had a smaller ratio, of course. It gave us 24K, a little bit higher than 24K, the 11th of July 2022. For our price direction, we utilized, again, key support and resistances. We can see over here, the bottom was used, so price movement was not simple. We utilized key support and resistances. So 40K was our major one, increasing importance, 48K, 30K, 24K. So then we go ahead and we input those. So we have 48K, which was our second top over here, indicating the bear market resistance. We talked about that a few minutes ago. We have 40K acting as this horizontal support line, which we can see was a major support. 30K, the weekly, the yearly bottom, should I say, and then 24K, that trigger line over here. All right, so moving on from there, we use that to indicate that. We use that ratio analysis to get 24K. We input it on a chart. And then obviously zooming out, we identified, which you talked about in this video already, that 18K zone being a potential. We can see these green lines show us, we have this blow off top, we drop down, we retest, bear market rejection, continue downwards to gray zone. Blow off top, push upwards, rejection, continue down to gray zone. Blow off top, rejection, continue down to gray zone. It's all the same. It really is all the same. That's how we did that. And of course, we talked about how we can flip bullish and bearish. Now, this is just a snippet of what we talked about. And obviously, if you want more of this, all our videos talk about technical analysis. A whole trading career I've been using technical analysis. Is basically the only thing I use. I do take into consideration macroeconomic events and economy. Obviously with a background in finance, accounting and economics, I do utilize that quite a bit, and it definitely did help me with, I would say, the narrative of this direction, the scope of this direction, and allow me to have such a bold claim and bold prediction, because I knew the economy was falling in a certain direction that would emphasize this drop, or at least cultivate a scenario which would allow this stupidly massive price prediction to play out, essentially. And it has played out. We go ahead and take a look at this, all right, and then we go ahead and take a look at the price action, guys. It's basically identical. It really is basically identical. We had this drop down, we had a top, we had a bottom again, we had a top, and now we're coming down. And it's essentially exactly what we said. So guys, I hope to, well, I really hope this video has been helpful first and foremost, and obviously I'd hope to help you guys along your trading journey. And if you're interested in learning how to trade just like myself, you can head over to cryptoacademycourses@gmail.com. I put together a 10-unit course with Wolves of Crypto helping me. We made basically everything you need, from fundamental concepts to investing strategies, identifying market structures, how to trade market patterns, how to use technical analysis, how to identify a whole range of different entries and exits, and how to apply risk management. So if you're interested in learning how to do technical analysis like myself, if you're interested in learning how to trade like myself, go ahead. All you need to do is click that, contact me to find out more information on joining, all right? And of course, if you want to join our VIP channel, we do daily trade signals updates. You can see over here, you know, just in the last 24 hours alone, we had about 3 trades do, you know, we had 2 trades do 60%, 1 trade do 130%, which is huge. And obviously our profits of those on the month, you can see February to May, we've had significant, every single month has been massive profit. We haven't had our smallest month of profits was January 2022. We had 255%. Our largest month was over 3,400% in May 2021. So every single month we've had huge profits, guys. And I definitely recommend going ahead and joining. Click the comment down below, click contact about VIP. You just need to click this message over here, contact me, go out to join now. All right. That being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next video.